The violins echoed through the Montclair estate like a warning dressed in silk. People said it was the wedding of the year, one that would make headlines and secure dynasties. But behind the diamond-studded chandeliers and cascading white roses, something was dying inside me. I stood frozen at the altar, wrapped in ivory lace, the dress tighter than the grip around my soul. The whispers behind me blurred into a single sharp sound, my father's voice, commanding the ceremony like a general preparing for war. Do you, Isabella Marquez, take Leonardo Elridge to be your lawfully wedded husband? I looked at Leonardo, tall, powerful, meticulously groomed. He looked like every girl's dream. But to me, he was a golden cage, a name, a strategy, a mask. I didn't hate him, not yet. I just didn't love him. And love should have been required when saying I do. Then I saw my father in the front row, Arturo Marquez, the man who gave me everything, except freedom. His stare drilled into me like a verdict. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't a question. It was an order. So I said it. I do. And in my mind, I whispered the rest. But from this day forward, I'll make you regret every step you planned for me. They called it a union. I called it a transaction. As we walked back down the aisle, arms intertwined, guests clapping and cameras flashing, I could feel the storm rising inside me. And I smiled for the photos. But deep down, I was writing the first chapter of my revenge. You may be wondering, why didn't I run? Because sometimes escape isn't running. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk straight into the fire with gasoline in your eyes. Stay with me until the end, and I'll show you how I turned that I do into a declaration of war, and how I destroyed a man's pride, piece by piece, without ever raising my voice. That night, after the last flute of champagne had been drained and the last guest had left, I stood in the master bedroom of the Elridge mansion. Everything was perfect, on the surface. Leonardo loosened his tie, poured 2 glasses of wine, and approached me with a gentle smirk. To us, he said, to forever. I clinked my glass against his. To new beginnings. He thought I meant our marriage. I meant his undoing. He talked about the honeymoon, the empire we'd build, the power couple narrative the press had already started spinning. I let him talk. I smiled when expected. But every word he spoke was fuel for what I was becoming. Because here's the truth. My father didn't just hand me off to a man. He handed me off to a role, to an identity, to a life I never chose. And I would not go quietly. When I was 16, I caught my mother crying in the garden. Surrounded by roses, she looked like a wilted flower. That night she told me something I never forgot. You were born with fire in your veins, Bella. Don't let them turn it into perfume. She died 3 months later. They said it was her heart. I believe it was everything she swallowed just to stay alive. They broke her. I wouldn't let them break me. So I waited. I watched. And while Leonardo slept peacefully beside me that first night, I sat by the window, staring out over the dark city. My vow wasn't about destruction. It was about reclamation. I would take back what they stole, my voice, my choice, my fire. And I would start in the morning. Leonardo Elridge had a routine. Everything in his life was arranged like a calendar of control. And into this well-oiled life, I inserted chaos. Slowly, lovingly, invisibly. Day 1. I greeted him with a smile, placed a note in his jacket that said, "You're always being watched," written in my own perfume. Nothing threatening, just enough to trigger a pause. He found it before a board meeting and laughed nervously, brushing it off. But I saw it in his eyes, confusion. Day 2. I rearranged his cufflinks before his television interview. Slight mismatch. The cameras noticed. Day 4. I told the chef to add saffron, Leonardo's known allergy, to the risotto, just enough to make his lips swell. He blamed the seasoning. I watched from across the table. I never spoke of it, and neither did he. We lived in a glass mansion, but I mastered the art of shadows. He started asking me to help with emails, appointments, clothing choices. I smiled sweetly and made sure every help was one thread closer to unraveling him. He kissed me. He thanked me. I continued to poison the roots of his world. When I was 10, I watched my father fire a driver because he was 3 minutes late. My mother begged for mercy. He said, "People are either efficient or replaceable." That day, I learned what mattered in my family. And when I married Leonardo, I knew exactly what they thought I was. Day 7, Leonardo's smartwatch disappeared. I placed it in the garden fountain. It was found days later, water damaged, data lost. He blamed his assistant. I gave her a tissue and whispered, "You deserve better." And with that, another crack appeared. Day by day, I changed little things. I gave incorrect times for his driver. I whispered false compliments to his rivals. I accidentally sent the wrong file to the press. And through it all, I remained the diamond on his arm, polished, untouched. I wasn't doing it for fun, or spite, or even justice. I was doing it because I had to remember who I was. That girl had been buried in satin and silence. I was digging her out, one act at a time. At a gala, Leonardo misread his speech. A single number was off in a financial projection. Thanks to me. The room paused. The reporter's pen froze. He stammered. That night, he clutched my hand tighter in the car. "You're the only one who hasn't disappointed me." I kissed his cheek. "That's because I'm very, very patient." He chuckled, thinking it was affection. It wasn't. By the third week, Leonardo was unraveling. His charm faded. His composure cracked. I had altered 2 slides in a board presentation. A small change, but enough for a director to ask, "Why doesn't this match last week's report?" Leonardo froze. That night, he didn't eat. He sat in silence, staring out the window. I sat beside him, composed. He began accusing people. His assistant, his driver, but not me, because I was the only constant in his life. His anchor, his poison. I remember once as a teenager, I told my father I wanted to publish a book of poetry. He looked up and said, "Poetry doesn't pay for yachts." That night, after Leonardo called me his most profitable investment, I wrote a poem in secret. It began with the line, "A bird can still sing with a razor in its throat." Day 27, I stood behind Leonardo as he practiced a speech in front of a mirror. Strength is measured by how you rebuild. His voice cracked. He blinked. He looked at himself like he didn't recognize the man in the glass. "Why does everything feel like it's slipping?" I touched his shoulder. "Maybe you trusted the wrong people." He searched my eyes. "Do you think someone's trying to hurt me? I think someone already has." And I walked away. He stopped shaving, stopped smiling, stopped trusting. One night, I saw him curled up in the corner of the couch, shaking. He wasn't the arrogant man at the altar. He was a boy pretending to be powerful. For a moment, I pitied him. Then I remembered how he treated waiters, how he mocked interns. He wasn't a victim. He was finally seeing the mirror I had held up to him. The Elridge Foundation Gala was meant to be his redemption. Everyone was there. I wore crimson. Leonardo whispered, "Tonight we rise again." I smiled. "Yes, love. We'll never be the same after tonight." He began his speech. The projector screen lit up. But it wasn't his slideshow. Headline, "Exclusive footage. The real Leonardo Elridge." Then the clips played. Abuse, lies, embezzlement, cruelty. His voice on audio. Charity's just another way to buy loyalty. Gasps. Phones out. Leonardo panicked. "Cut it. Cut it off." I stepped onto the stage beside him. I said I do because I was told to. But every day since, I've said I don't. He tried to speak. I didn't let him. This man built an empire of mirrors. And tonight they shattered. The room clapped. Leonardo walked off stage, defeated. My father was waiting. "You've humiliated this family." "No, you did. When you sold me like property. No man will trust you again." "Good. I'm not for sale anymore." The next morning, I didn't check headlines. I walked. I breathed. I started a foundation. We don't break homes. We break cages. If I could speak to the girl I was at the altar, I'd say, "You are not too much. You are just buried. Dig, darling. Dig." Maybe your revenge won't be public. Maybe it's leaving quietly, starting a journal, studying again. That's still a revolution. So do this. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Share this video. Not for me, for you. For every voice that's still whispering, I don't. Because I said, I do when I didn't mean it. But now I say, I do to something else. To freedom. To truth. To me. And I hope you'll say it too.